First thing is okay? Sorry. Yeah, yeah. I didn't. I just want to make sure. I didn't want to say anything. And
No, say whatever you want.
all right, cool. All right.
All right, guys, welcome to the How They Did It podcast. I'm here with Chris Fontana. You might know him as one of the founders of Go Primal USA. He has a lifestyle apparel brand. He also is the host of the podcast, The Primal Mindset. I linked up with him on LinkedIn, of all places. Just following him a bit. I found him super interesting. I loved the little clips of his podcast that I was seeing. So I invited him on here. Chris, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on.
So I want to go back a little bit in your backstory. Like I know some of the things you post about is like you lost 100 pounds, which
Yeah.
by the way, we have a very similar story. I lost 120 pounds.
Oh, there you go.
Uh,
Nice.
yeah, so we have that story. You focus a lot on mental health, and I like to focus a lot on habit building. So I think that we have some similarities in this. Why don't you walk me through your story a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So pretty much, at my worst, I was just a 300-pound depressed alcoholic suffering from severe anxiety attacks on a daily basis. For a better part of a decade, I didn't know they were anxiety attacks. I thought something was wrong with me. I thought I was dying every day. I thought that was going to be my life. I was going to die young. My dad died young. And that was it. I was kind of settling for misery. Anyone who's suffered from a panic attack, like a legit panic attack. I mean, it feels like you're having a heart attack, and like I said, for a better part of a decade, I didn't even know that it was anxiety. I just assumed something was wrong with me. I was convinced that I was so out of shape, that I was drinking too much, doing drugs, that, I was just going to drop dead. Um, so it took me a long time to actually realize that it was anxiety, and along with the depression, like just the mental health part of my story is, I would say, the hardest thing I ever had to overcome. And I'm always careful how I say that because I just know how addiction is, which I was able to, overcome later on in life. But with the anxiety attacks was the first thing that I had to overcome to really start that and to make that turn to towards a better life. And that was, I would say, when I was around 30 years old or so. It was at my worst. I sat in my apartment and you know I came to the conclusion that I was just so sick and tired of hating myself, and probably was my most powerful why to this day, because when you actually look in the mirror and you sit there, and I was like, man, I would be like, I fucking hate you, man. It was just, and to really feel that, it wasn't just like, you say it, you're pissed off at yourself, man. I fucking hated myself. I hated everything about myself. Where I was in life, I was a college dropout. I was, working manual labor jobs, and, it just wasn't what I thought I was going to be in life. It was, um, I knew my dad was probably disappointed looking down on me. I knew I was disappointed in myself, so I know he'd be. It just wasn't where I was supposed to be, and I was on that verge of just settling for misery the rest of my life, or being like, fuck this, I'm gonna fight, I'm gonna struggle, I'm gonna get better, I'm gonna get, this isn't how my life was supposed to be like. And that was, like I said, when I'm 44 now. That was around when I was 30. I didn't realize it at the time, but that was when that primal mindset was born, and I pretty much, uh, that was the initial start of me kind of really turning my life around.
So why don't you give me a little look into that primal mindset? What do you mean when you're saying primal mindset?
Yeah, it's refusing to settle in life, and when I think of Go Primal, I always thought of a lion that was on a hunt. He sees something that he needs out of necessity, and he's not going to stop until he gets it. And that was me that night in the apartment when I'm crying, figuring out how I'm going to get better, how am I going to get past this, how am I going to, do something. I saw the person that I was supposed to be, that I was meant to be, that I was going to be, and I was not going to stop until I got it. And I developed a short memory. I didn't give a shit what happened the day before. I just said to myself from that day forward, because I just came from the gym where I had just a severe panic attack. I thought I was going to drop that on the treadmill. I was running for maybe 5 minutes or so. I've shared this story many times, and when I went home and was sitting there in my apartment crying because I'm like, I don't know how I can get over this. something came over me where I was just like, you know what? I ran 5 minutes today. Fuck it, I'm gonna run 6 minutes tomorrow, and that was just that mentality that day forward. It's like I wake up today, I go today, and that was it. I just focused on that one day. I was gonna be better that day, and that was to me that's that primal mindset to refuse to settle in life, be the best for the ones that need you the most. And at the time, I wasn't married yet. I didn't have kids yet. I was the person that needed myself the most at that time because that was that point where it was like, all right, man, like, I call it a living suicide because I never contemplated suicide. I just know I couldn't do that to my mother, but I didn't really care about my life and where it was going. I knew I didn't want to die, but I just didn't really care about anything. So that was that point where I'm like, is that what's going to be? No. And that's when I kind of, I made that turn. And like I said, man, every day it was just, you wake up today, you go today. And little by little, I started to, lose some weight. I got stronger, and like that, and that's how you stay consistent is when you start seeing results, and that's how I started to gain confidence, and that's really just pushing past that fear of dropping dead of a heart attack and getting over the anxiety, which I did have help. I finally had to reach out and get help, and which I encourage men to do, man. Like, you can't do it on your own, go out and get some help. And I did, finally go to the doctors where they realized that it was anxiety. There was nothing physically wrong with me. And I went to a therapist and, had to go on some medication briefly. But that really just, allowed me to keep going every day and gain that confidence. And once I was able to really overcome that fear of dying, because there's nothing more uncomfortable than thinking you're dying, and I look back and that absolutely made me so mentally strong, because like any situation I'm put in now, I just feel comfortable because I got so comfortable being uncomfortable throughout those years of that mental warfare of thinking I was dying every day. I was going to drop dead of a heart attack. Oh, this is it. This is my last day. That's, never even thought to call 911, or, how many times, I'm working and I'm thinking I'm gonna drop dead. I'm screaming inside, help, 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 help. On the outside, just steady working, and no one even knew what was going on. Or the times I was in my apartment alone, thinking I was gonna drop dead, and say, "All right, this is it. So be it." To overcome all that, just really just it's like it shot me out of a cannon, man. It was just like, man, the confidence just went up, and I just kept going. And that I really truly believe that's what helped me get sober. Unfortunately, alcohol kept a hold on me for 8 more years. I didn't get sober till I was 38. So, when I finally came to that decision again, and it was a tough Christmas, because 2017 Christmas Eve was my last drink. My last shit show. Christmas Day, my wife kicked me out and said, "That's it." So I was in a hotel room Christmas night, eating Burger King because it was the only thing open, and I was like, man, here we are again. I'm sitting here alone, not knowing what I'm gonna do, how am I gonna get better, and then that was it. That was that decision where I was like, all right, man, I know what I have to do, and that allowed me to walk into the rooms of AA, because I was like, man, that's not me, that's not my life, that's not who I'm supposed to be. And once I went in there and they're preaching, ODAT one day at a time, man, that training of the mind kicked in when I'm like, man, that, man, you wake up today, you go today, and that's what gave me that confidence to kind of, be able to overcome that addiction. And that's when everything just came together, man. That's when the confidence was, through the roof. I shed the last 20 to 30 pounds. So after that, that's when it really all came together. About a year or so, year and a half after that, my first son was born, and I have another boy now, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. So, that's really where everything came together, and that's when I knew I had something. And overcoming everything, I just needed to, develop a brand or develop something to put my story out there, to show people that, man, don't settle in life, man. Refuse, especially men. You cannot settle. Be the best for the ones that need you the most, man. Help future generations, and that's really where I kind of am today with that. And my show, The Primal Mindset, is part of NGBN, which is a men's network focusing on the midlife man. Which actually the app is ready to do a sneak peek January 29th. So everyone, download the app. We got some great shows on there, some great live sporting events. So it's really going to be a great network for the midlife man, and that's really what my brand is about as well. So it kind of all came like full circle within the recent few years.
So yeah, there's a couple interesting things in this. One, congratulations. I've had alcoholism in my family.
Mm.
I've seen firsthand the destruction it could cause. I've seen obesity, obviously what has done to me. And yeah, I know the difficulties. It's no small task to overcome those demons. So
Yeah,
congratulations on that.
thanks, man.
Um, Second, one, I think that the idea of a channel, a media channel that's generally for men in their midlife is excellent idea, and I think it's something that's missing generally in the market. Like people are they're kind of the one of the more overlooked sections of society.
Yeah,
So I wanted to say one thing that I found very interesting, that you lost weight and then you kicked alcoholism. And I wanted to say,
yeah.
are there any traits that you took from dieting to lose weight that you then use in trying to kick your alcohol addiction? Because I have seen some similarities in the way of dealing with it.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's I mean, it's a little different because with addiction, it's to me, I just had to make that decision where, it's you can't have a drink. That's it. It's non-negotiable, But it's all about staying consistent and focusing on one day at a time. You're not gonna get skinny in one day, just like you're not gonna get fat in one day. It's just like it's turning it into a lifestyle. I have a healthy, sober lifestyle, and that's it. There's a non-negotiable, and don't get me wrong, man. I love to eat pizza. I love to, eat some good foods, but it's staying consistent with eating healthy, eating whole foods, staying active, moving around, being there for your family. You can still enjoy yourself, but it's just all about staying consistent, waking up every day. I wake up today, I go today. How do I be my best version of myself today? And that really, like I said, man, that can go really with anything in life, man. Just changing it into a lifestyle.
So now that you started your Go Primal brand. One, how long ago did you actually launch the company? How's the company going? How do you do sales? Is it all direct to consumer? Are you selling to stores? What's the strategy behind it?
Yeah, I actually started it when COVID hit. Because like I said, COVID hit, and I was home with my son, first son was 1 at the time, um, and I was working numerous jobs, so to be home with him was kind of a blessing in disguise, and you always have to make meaning of the things that happen. So that's what I took from when COVID hit, being home with him. And like I said, I'm like, man, I got something here. I don't know what it is, but I feel like I can help people. I feel like I can develop something, and overall, man, I want to build an empire for my boys. So really didn't know how to go about it. I just really put my story out on social media because I guess that was the only way at the time I thought of. And a marketing guy actually reached out to me on LinkedIn, and he's still with me to this day. He developed my website, and we do all the designs together. He said, you got a great story. What are you doing with it? And I said I wasn't sure, and we kind of talked for a while, and we came up with the whole Go Primal and the logo. And the only way I really knew how to get it out there was just to put it on apparel, so I did. So it didn't move as much as I thought it was gonna move, because you're a new brand, no one knows what you are, what it's about. So it took some time to kind of get the brand out there and to try to market that. Everything is pretty much or organically, so it took some time. But then again, on LinkedIn, the CEO of the network of NGBN reached out to me, and I don't remember if I just started a podcast or I was thinking of having a podcast. and he mentioned that he's going to start this network, and that was a good 2.5 years ago. So I've been with it from the beginning. So to see it grow to where it is today is really great to be a part of. And with the apparel as well, I do I have an online store. You can go on GoPrimalUSA.com. You can purchase the apparel there. For Flex Fights and MMA promotion out here on Long Island, I'm an official sponsor for, so we do set up some
That's cool.
tables at the events. I do have it available in some local gyms as well. I would say mostly just everything is online right now, but just really looking it to grow and eventually be in stores. Starting here in Long Island, where I like to, help the community here. I call it GP Nation, building here, starting and eventually just like I said, man, building that empire for my boys.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, do you think what percentage of your revenue do you believe comes from online? Is it the large share of the revenue, the lion's share?
Yeah, it's a majority of it. Like I said, the we do some pop-up shops here and there with the and at the Flex Fights, the events. That's more about just kind of being there. It's hard to have that many sales and when you have fights going on. It's loud, they got the
Yeah.
music, it's a great time. I love going there, but we do a lot of like t-shirt, tossing it out to the crowd. We do some raffles, some giveaways. So yeah, it's just all about kind of having fun and getting the name out there and talking to the fighters and stuff like that. So I would say, yeah, most of it, majority of sales are online.
That's very impressive. And so you started this right before COVID. Now you guys are not no longer in COVID. You're doing events like the fight events. Do you feel like are you at the point now where you're living solely off of your business, or are you working other jobs on the side? How is that? What's
No,
the
it's still not my main source just yet. Like I said, that is the goal. So I do still
Mhm.
have to, I have a county job that I hold on to because that's how my family gets health insurance and and stuff like that. So I still need to do that. But the goal is to, yeah, eventually make it my main source of income. Make that grow, man. Make that empire grow.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. Very cool to hear. So I wanted to get back to this. I wanted to circle back to this a little bit. So when you were dealing during the time with addiction, this was 2000. What was that? How many years before you started the brand?
When I actually got sober, or just
Yeah,
kind
when
of
you
the
actually
whole.
got sober.
Yeah, I mean, I got sober in 2017. At my worst, like I said, weight wise, it was around 27, 2008-ish, maybe around there, 2009. I mean, alcohol obviously played a major role in my life for a lot of years.
Yeah,
But yeah, 2017 when I was actually is when I was able to get sober. Um,
2000. So 2 years before you started the
yeah.
Go Primal brand. Uh, when you started it on LinkedIn, were you thinking, "Oh, I want to get it"? What made you get into the clothing brand? Because you do have an exceptional story, but and like a podcast makes sense. But what was that pivot to the clothing line?
I think, like I said, I mean, I think I've always wanted to, like, especially since, being really overweight. And then fitness is a big part of my story. I wanted to have comfortable clothing because when you're that big and you're never comfortable in your own body, you're never comfortable in any clothes. So like I always thought, like, man, if I ever do anything and have a clothing, I want to have a comfortable, cool clothing line. Think that would be cool. But really, honestly, like I said in the beginning, I just didn't know really how to get my brand out there. So I just always thought it would be cool to have some cool like hoodies and t-shirts and stuff like that. And in my mind, I'm like, all right, eventually I'm going to build it to where it's the GP is just as noticeable as the Nike swoosh sign. Like that's just my mentality. um so I love my t-shirts are all tri blends. They're comfortable, they fit to any any body type they fit to. They don't shrink, and they breathe, so they don't weigh you down. 'Cause I remember when first going to that gym, man, you sweat and you feel like the shirt's weighing you down. You feel it's uncomfortable. You're like this, you're moving around. Then you wash it and it shrinks. You put it on. You're like, fuck, man, am I gaining weight? Like what? Like
Yeah,
it messes with your head, like
for sure.
especially when it's something where it makes you so depressed and makes you so anxious. I would have social anxiety. You go out and you see people you haven't seen in a long time, like, man, you got big, and you play it off like it doesn't bother you, but it did, because I knew that wasn't me. So I think just kind of like all that together, where I was just like, man, let's have some some sick apparel.
Yeah, I like it. I like the story a lot. When you were losing weight, what was the were you on any specific kind of diet? Were you using any kind of specific training protocols? Like, walk me through what was like the actual practical steps.
So so when I first, like, when I really, going from my worst, it was like from one extreme to the other. So I was basically just eating like shit, fast food, like I said, working manual labor jobs, you always eat on the road. Um, drinking all the time, so you're not going to the gym, and I was functioning alcoholic, so I would work, drink, work, drink, work, drink. Coming to that time, um, and actually another part of it that I didn't really mention, it was when going to the doctors and all that, when they said, there's nothing wrong with your heart, the only thing you have is high blood pressure, we want to put you on medication. I was like, there's no fucking way I'm going on medication. I'm way too young for that. And I think that was, I signed up for the gym that day. Um, so it was just really going from one extreme to the other. I mean, I don't really recommend it, but like I said, that why was so powerful that I was, working out every day. I would usually just do some cardio in the morning, before work, and then when I got home at night, I was doing like CrossFit style workout. This is back when like CrossFit kind of first started, and it was all like body weight exercise, man. Because I was embarrassed, man. I can barely do 10 push-ups, and I'm like, what the hell, man. Um, so it was mostly just little quick CrossFit, weight workouts at night, and then 7 days a week. And a trainer there actually introduced me to a nutrition plan. It was like an eight-week nutrition plan, um, and nothing crazy. Like, when I look back at it, it was just basically just eating healthy. It wasn't anything, and that was my first like real like eye-opening experience of like how much nutrition played a part of it. Because I remember stopped, didn't even drink alcohol for it was an 8 week thing, so basically 2 months. I didn't drink any alcohol. Followed it strictly to a T, and I mean, when I say I dropped like 50 or 60 pounds in 2 months, it was like that quick. Because, like I said, you're going from one extreme to the other, which I don't recommend, but like that was just how I was at that time. Um, and from that day forward, it that nutrition plan kind of stayed with me. Where I'm like, all right, man, I'm gonna start. All the food was prepared by me. I wasn't going out and getting shit at restaurants or delis or fast food places. Because even the so-called healthy spots, man, you still just don't know what they're putting in there. You don't know how many calories you're actually eating. So that was like that big turning point in my life with the nutrition plan.
Yeah, I feel that a lot of people when they start, they're shocked about how basically straightforward it is. Like, you already have the
Yeah,
answers. So I train clients, as I mentioned earlier, exclusively. I travel around the world with them. But I've been a personal trainer for many years. I was also a professional MMA fighter. I was in the UFC for a short period of time. And I train people now. I train people online, and one of the biggest things I get are people are like, they're waiting for this magic pill for me to
yeah,
give them, or like this super complicated formula that's going to get them to lose weight. And basically, I've told people, I could summarize this with three single steps, and you follow these steps, it takes care of 80% of what you need to do. One, eat lean proteins and lots of vegetables. Like
Yep.
number one, if you do that, and you can add things to it in and out. But if you have that, you'll be pretty good. You're doing solid like that. If you eat lean proteins, lots of vegetables, drink 4 liters of water a day, and hit 10,000 steps a day. If you do those things, if you eat mostly that, 80% of that, and then add the rest of whatever else you want to eat, and you do your 10,000 steps a day, and you drink enough water, you'll be hydrated, you'll move. You're going to get most of what you're going to get out of nutrition from the
Yeah.
base level that gets you to stay alive. People are like, well, that's not very useful. I'm like, it's actually
Yeah.
the most useful thing.
If you actually do it, it's very useful, you
Yeah,
know? Yeah, I agree.
yeah, and another thing is the with the when you lost so much weight quickly, a big part of that I think was dropping the alcohol because alcohol
Yeah.
one has multiple issues outside of the fact that it's very bad for you and it's addicting and so on and so forth. There's also the problem that it slows down, it hampers muscle protein synthesis. So everything that you're doing, if you're going to the gym and then you're drinking, especially if you're drinking a large amount, more than 71 grams of alcohol per day, that's going to dampen your muscle protein synthesis. So that's going to mean you'll have less muscle than you would be having, which means your general base metabolic baseline for calorie burn is going to be lower, and it's a lot of added empty calories to it. So just by stopping that and maybe your allowing your muscles to grow just by a little bit more, increasing that like your metabolic rate by a small amount, probably 1 or 200 calories, and not ingesting all those calories and eating things that are more filling and satiating, you it's like magic how quickly
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, and also when you're drinking, you're eating like shit. You know, it goes hand in hand. When you're drinking too much, you know, I unfortunately, like I always did, I wasn't able to. You know, you're not waking up early to go do cardio. You know, so yeah, it definitely played a factor in those 2 months. Unfortunately, I didn't stick with it, but you know, I mean, I never gained that weight back at all. You know, like I stayed, um, you know, consistent with as far as like staying on track with that. You know, I would go off track a little bit here and there because obviously the alcohol keeps you from staying consistent with anything good, I think. But especially, you know, I shouldn't say for anyone, but for me it did. You know, so I think that once I was able to really kick the alcohol for good, like I said, that's when everything just really came together.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that, and I just want to let you know it's been fantastic having you on. The story's been very inspirational to hear. If you guys, anyone that's watching from my channel, please go to Go Primal USA. I'm gonna go today. I'm gonna pick up a couple T-shirts and have them sent over. I'm excited to support. I'm excited to keep supporting your podcast. Could you please let me know the name of the network? I'm sorry, it's left me.
Yeah, NGBN. So
NGBN.
yeah, and that's the app. The app's going to be a sneak peek January 29th. So everyone check that out. You'll be able to download it on pretty much any device that you have. So
That's amazing. And one, I think that's a great thing you guys are doing. I'm really happy. And off air, if there's anything you ever think I could help with, I'd be super happy to. It's
yeah,
fantastic,
definitely, man.
fantastic project. Chris, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Guys, this is another episode of How They Did It.
Thanks.